Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We're here breaking down the commies, the Eagles, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson in the big week 11 slate coming up, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. G Money Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
I'm doing very good, Tanner. No big promises here, but I can tell you within a few minutes here, I'm going to suggest a major change to the way the NFL operates, and I hope that teams out there are listening because I think it would do a lot of good.
It's a good hook. It's a really good hook there because I want to know what it is too because you didn't tell me what it is, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's you know what? I'll give you a little spoiler. I want them to create a new job. I want there to be a new job on the NFL coaching staff.
Okay, I like that. Anyways, you know what teams need? A kicking coach. I don't know if they have them. Like they have special teams coaches. I'm assuming most teams have a kicking coach. Maybe he comes in a couple days a week to help out. But the Eagles need a new kicking coach, or that kicker needs to get fired. With Jake Elliott.
You know, it's a good question too because the special teams coach is not. They're not walking the kickers through the mechanics of how to kick, right? Like they're drawing up the plays. How can we create margin, stuff like that? I'm guessing kickers go to a specialist when they're younger and they just kind of take that and run with it.
Jake Elliott looks like he's never kicked a football in his life. A disturbance to society, and he needs to be locked away.
It's weird too because Philly fans love Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott in the 1920 season, I want to say, hit a 64-yarder. I think it tied the NFL record at the time. He's been a very good kicker, but we are witnessing the fall off of kickers. You know, Justin Tucker might be a little bit washed. Harrison Butker's missed some kicks. Maybe this is just the year the kickers fall apart.
Jake Elliott is the worst kicker in the NFL. He's hit 73% of his field goals. He has not hit a 50-yard field goal this season. He is 32nd in extra point percentage, and his long field goal is 49 yards. He is the worst kicker in the league. He should be fired. I'm sorry, like honestly, and we got to promote WSN first before we talk about this, but I will say this before we get into the game. If you miss 2 field goals and a PAT in the same night, and it almost cost you, realistically, the game shouldn't have been as close as it was if he makes those, you need to probably reassess your career. These guys make too much money to miss field goals. Like you make too much money to miss chip shot field goals and PATs in the same night and not be able to shake it because it wasn't just last night. It's been the entire season with him. So if you haven't made a 50-yard field goal this season, you've been trash kicking the football. You were trash last night. You probably need to start thinking about hanging it up.
You know who kickers are like? Kickers are like goalkeepers in soccer because they get so few opportunities that when they go out there, you know, the quarterback's throwing the ball 30, 35 times a game, right? Like Saquon in this game ran it 26 times. Jake Elliott gets 4 or 5 kicks in a game. And same thing with goalies. You know, they might actually get to try to save 2 or 3 shots. So if one goal goes in, you look at it like, wow, that was horrible by the goalie. Jake Elliott misses a field goal. It's like, wow, dude, like do your job. I'm not arguing with you. He's been very bad, obviously. But I also do feel like there's a much bigger magnifying glass on kickers anytime they mess up just because we don't see them all that much. So when they do go out there, they're expected to deliver.
Yeah, I mean, he signed a 4-year, $24 million deal with the Eagles. He's under contract until 2028, but there's a potential out in 2026. So
$24 million for a kicker is a lot.
Yeah, 4 years, 20. But it doesn't look like he's making, I guess, cap hit. He's making $4.5 million a year. You're making $4.5 million a year. I'm sorry. You need to make 50-yard field goals. It's unacceptable. If you're not doing that, it's unacceptable.
You know, I have a theory that if you're a contending team, it's different if you're not. But if you are a contending team, I think the best kicker in the league is probably worth a 1st or 2nd round pick. Like if you're the Chiefs or the Ravens or the Lions right now, if you could get Brandon Aubrey for a 1st or a 2nd, like that's a guy who could kick it from 70 in a playoff game. That alone is invaluable. You know, your kicker could be the difference between you winning or losing a playoff game. So if you're a contender, I think it's worth it to pay top of the market dollar for one of those elite kickers.
Yeah, as long as they come through too. I think there's plenty of guys in street clothes right now that could make a field goal though. There's a lot of former kickers, journeyman kickers out there that can make a field goal. So $4.5 million a year, Jake Elliott, figure it out. You almost cost a lot of people money last night. People that aren't making $4.5 million a year, Jake Elliott. So step it up. Anyways, WSN. the number one source for betting information, sportsbook promo codes, all that good stuff. Grant, tell them why they should come check out WSN.com and Ride the Line podcast.
Well, yeah, of course. Ride the Line podcast right here. Take 2 seconds, hit the subscribe button. 1, 2, that should be enough time. Hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, Tanner and I are going to stop posting. So make sure you're a part of the community. Like he said, also check out WSN.com. We've got promo codes to make sports betting a more profitable and exciting experience. We got game previews. We got betting picks. I'm in charge of writing our NFL picks against the spread every week. I had Eagles -3.5. So if you were over there, you would have seen it, you would have taken it, and you would have made some money last night. So WSN.com, Ride the Line, subscribe.
I'm still looking at Jake Elliott's game from last night, and he almost missed the PAT to go up 8 points too. Remember that?
And he had missed the PAT earlier as well.
Yeah, so we got to stop talking about Jake Elliott. I know I'm obsessing over him because he angered me last night. But anyways, if the Commanders would have capitalized on those missed field goals, they might have won the football game because there were moments for them to put the Eagles away early. Credit the Eagles defense. They were really good last night. The Eagles did not take a shortcut. It was clear they were the better football team. As Washington progresses, though, and improves and gets more experience under their belt, they're going to be really good in the future. They're not there yet, but they're going to be very good in the coming seasons, I think.
Yeah, the building blocks are there. Absolutely credit to Philly's defense. This is by far the worst game of Jaden Daniels' career. People were saying it looked like the ribs were bothering him. I don't really know. I didn't notice it all that much. He didn't look right. And I don't necessarily want to say that's because of an injury. I want to give credit to the Eagles defense. I thought they did a great job. Terry McLaurin had 1 target in this game. He had 0 when he was being guarded by Quinyon Mitchell. So Philly deserves credit for that. There were no shortcuts. You can't blame the Marshawn Lattimore absence because the Eagles passing game didn't really do anything, especially on the deep shots. You can't blame the absence of Austin Seibert because, as we've been saying for 5 minutes now, Jake Elliott was basically a double agent. There were no shortcuts here. Washington held the Eagles to 6 points through the first 3.5 quarters. So you got to give them credit there, but Philly was the deserving winner. Tanner, what I was teasing at the start about how I want there to be a major change, I want there to be a new position on the coaching staff for every team. I want there to be a numbers guru. And I say numbers, not analytics, because Dan Quinn's decision to go for it on 4th down when they were down, I think it was 12-10, right? And I jump online and you see John Gruden, who's on his first day at Barstool, talking about the damn analytics, they're ruining the game. Everybody's saying analytics. Let me break it down. Analytics would have said to kick it. The Commanders are down by 2 points. It's like they're at the 25 to 30 yard line. It's a makeable field goal. You would have just assumed that it goes in. The offense had not been good the whole game. They had it on 2nd and 1. They had just been stuffed 2 plays in a row. Jaden Daniels clearly not comfortable throwing the ball, and he had not run the ball well in this game at all. So you don't have any very good options on offense at that point. Your offense had not been in rhythm. Because you're down 2, let's say you go for it on 4th and you make it. If you score a touchdown on that drive, you get the extra point. Now you're up 5. If you stop Philly, you get it back and you kick a field goal. Now you're up 8. That's still a 1-possession game. If you go for it on 4th down, you get stuffed, which is exactly what happens, and then Philly scores a touchdown, you're now down 9. So it's a 2-possession game. So analytics would have told you, if we go for it here, we're not doing it. We're not gaining anything. We're up 5, but it's still a 1-possession game unless we score another touchdown. And it would have been the same thing. If you take the field goal, you go up 1 and you score a touchdown, well, it's still a 1-possession game again. So that decision gave the advantage heavily to Philly. And I hated the decision before the snap went off, because just a simple numerical perspective. As soon as Philly scored a touchdown, I knew the game was over because it was 5 minutes left. Washington's offense hadn't done anything all game, and it was a 2-score game. And of course, Jaden goes out there, tries to throw or force a throw, knowing that his team was behind, gets picked off, and the game is basically sealed.
That was one of the dumbest decisions I've seen all season. I wish the game was on ESPN too, because they have the go for it or don't go for it analytics thing at the bottom. I don't think Prime had that last night. I wasn't really listening to the broadcast at that point. I was just watching. But when you look at just the overall decision there, the Eagles have a kicker who can't kick. There's like 6-7 minutes left in the game at that point, right? 5, you said, right?
Yeah, 5, 6, something like that.
Time's expiring there. You make the kick. If you get a stop, you have a chance to not give the Eagles the ball back by running the clock out. I know you didn't run the ball well all night. You didn't look good on offense all night, but the Eagles didn't look good on offense till the end of the game with Saquon. They looked bad too. So I don't know why you don't take the points, go up there, because you're putting the Eagles in a situation now where they got to go drive the field. They have a kicker who can't make a field goal. And when you look at him, he looks like he has no clue what's going on. He looks like he doesn't want to kick anymore in a high leverage situation. So put him in that situation. And then worst case, if you don't give up a touchdown, you have the chance to just go down and kick a field goal to win the game at the end.
Yeah, and Philly was giving you points. If you add up, Jake Elliott missed 2 field goals and an extra point. That's a touchdown. Philly gave you a touchdown. You had a halftime lead. You fall behind. You're on the road halfway through the fourth quarter, short week against a division rival. You should not be in that game, but you are. Take what they gave you. This is a 40-yard field goal to take the lead. And even if Philly does score on its next drive, you're going to get the ball back. So again, you're going to be in that same position. If you kick the field goal, you take the points, control of the game, your destiny is in your hands. Because you went for it, you put destiny in Philly's hands. You allowed them to dictate the terms. I think this was a situation where Washington was like 10 or 11 or 11 of 12 on fourth down in the season. I think before the game started, maybe even before the season started, Dan Quinn said, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to go for it. You think back to that Cincinnati game in week 3 on Monday Night Football. They went for it on fourth down 3 times. They were going for it on like 4th and 5. I think they had that same mindset.
Situation though.
It was exactly. They did not consider the situation. They just made the decision before the game, we're going to be aggressive. And I think that kind of blinded them. Either that or their pride blinded them. The much, much better decision was to take the points.
Yeah, when you look at the Bengals game, they were making everything. It was a back and forth game. And if you gave Cincinnati the football back, they were going to go down and score anyways. It was just an offensive game. Last night, you can't say that. I would support Dan Quinn going for it last night if it was a game that went over the total. Both teams are scoring. If you gave the ball back to the Eagles, they were going to go down and score guaranteed. Like, that's the situation where you go for it. When it's a low-scoring defensive game and Philly has a kicker who doesn't want to kick in a game-winning field goal situation, why would you ever not take the points there? It made no sense. Also, Cliff Kingsbury, why are you putting Jaden Daniels under center in that situation when you just got stuff to play before? And honestly, him fumbling the snap was the best chance of them converting that. I thought when he fumbled it, there was a chance he was going to get it. Then you had the Great White Hope screaming across the field who slowed him down a little bit. But if one more block is made there, there's a chance he could get that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking the same thing. I mean, we know college offenses, ever since the last, I don't know how long, have been pretty much entirely quarterbacks taking snaps from the shotgun. Jaden, even in the NFL, does most of his work from the shotgun, and he's also used to, no huddle, quick cadence. So we're going to slow it down and put him under center when Philly has a stacked box and they've been destroying your offensive line all game. I hated that too. I thought it was just terrible, terrible, terrible. I think they made decisions before the game, and Washington's coaching staff has gotten a lot of credit, deservedly so, throughout the season. I think they made these decisions before the game started, and for that, they deserve a lot of criticism.
It seemed like on the fourth down call, Cliff Kingsbury was not ready to make that call. It seemed like Dan Quinn sprung that on him. It wasn't like, hey, you got 2 plays here. It was like, all right, we're going for it on fourth down, because it looked like they were just going to run up the middle. He fumbled the snap. Robinson would have been stuffed anyways if he hands the ball off. And then Jaden Daniels got stuffed running on the edge when he fumbled. And he's lucky he didn't get tackled right away by who was in the middle there.
Vaughn, I think. Oh, you mean the tackle that broke through? Yeah. I think it was Jalen Carter.
Jaden Carter, yeah. So.
Overall thoughts from this game, I thought Washington put up a very good fight. Despite them being outplayed, they held Philly out of the end zone. They forced them to kick field goals. And when that happens, your kicker's supposed to make it, but you are putting them in a situation where, well, he's got to go make it. And if you hold the team out of the end zone, you force them to kick red zone field goals, that's how you win games. So Washington deserves a lot of praise for that. Again, they held Philly to 6 points through 3.5 quarters. It just ended up being kind of the worst possible situation. Philly dominated the time of possession. It's a short week. Washington was on the road. At the end of the fourth quarter, Saquon had been hammering that ball all night long. You knew he was going to tire them out, and eventually he broke through. And I haven't looked at MVP odds. Maybe we actually should. I've got him right here. I want to see where Saquon is in the MVP after last night's game, because I've been saying I don't understand why Derrick Henry is ahead of Saquon in the MVP race as far as running backs go. I think Saquon's been better. So let me see here. He's still not that short. He's at plus 5,000. I think he was at plus 6,500 before the game, so it's come down a little bit, but he's still definitely an outsider.
He's got no chance of winning the MVP, especially if Lamar Jackson plays well against Pittsburgh on Sunday. Like, it's Lamar's award. Offensive Player of the Year, different story there. I think that's going to be a tighter race with him and Derrick Henry. But when it comes down to it, I think MVP, it's the quarterback award, which kind of sucks, but that's what it is. My thoughts from this game: the Eagles are they're much better than the Commanders. I will give them that. I think Washington, the future is bright. They're not there yet. My one fear, concern, I don't even know how to say it, but Jalen Hurts, can he like show some damn emotion on the sideline? He looks depressed when they cut the camera to him every single time. He's not talking to anybody. He's not like talking to a coach. He's just sitting there with his head down like he's waiting to go talk to his therapist. I don't understand it.
Yeah, there's a thing about, it's one thing to be stoic and calm and collected, but I'm with you. I want my leaders to show some emotion. You know, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, they're cool, they're calm, collected, but when the time comes, and it might be they got to chew a teammate out, it might be they just got to go yell at the offensive line, like in a good way. They might go have to get in a conversation with the offensive coordinator. You see the emotion. Jalen is always completely reserved, and you like that in your leader. But at the same time, if I'm a teammate, I want to know my guy is in the fight. And I'm not saying Philly is questioning if he is. Sometimes you just need something. You need that little extra boost. You know, like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, they've said before games start in the NBA, they'll look into the crowd because they want to see somebody in the crowd yelling at them to get them fired up. If you're a player in that situation, it's the fourth quarter, you're losing at home. I want my quarterback to be giving me some sort of artificial energy, and Jalen just doesn't do that.
He looks like he hates football. Legitimately, he looks like he hates football. He sits there, he doesn't talk to anybody. It's like, and you could have his head. He's like, "F this, man, F this." Like, he's just sad. He's looking down. It's not fun to watch. Like, I want when they're down. Like, I thought the Eagles were always going to win the game last night. There wasn't really because their defense was playing so well, but I didn't have any confidence they'd go score a touchdown. So it's Jalen Hurts needs to step it up a little bit, I think, emotionally on the sidelines.
I want to agree with you on your bottom line that Philly's definitely the better team. The thing is, I think they're a small bit better in most areas. Like, I don't think they dominate Washington in anything really. And again, I've said it a bunch of times already. They had 6 points going into the fourth quarter at home. There's a Washington defense that is banged up, starting a couple of rookies. Philly is as well, but I'm with you. I think it's definitely a promising future.
Yeah, no, they're not like 10 times better. They have an edge on defense. Like, I will give them that.
Their roster is just better, you know?
Yeah, they're just better they're better in every area. I'm not saying Jaden Daniels can't be better than Jalen Hurts, but like Jalen Hurts has more experience right now. Running back wise, I like Brian Robinson. I like Austin Eckler. I'd rather have Saquon. Receiver wise, I like Terry McLaurin. I'd rather have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Like, that's kind of where it's at. They're good. Like, the Commanders are good. The Eagles are just better.
Yeah, this offseason is going to be very big, obviously for Washington and me being a Washington fan, but for the NFC as well, because Adam Peters has done a very good job in his first, however long as general manager. This is his first offseason, and like, people are going to want to come play for this team. So if he can have a very good offseason, like, go get a great offensive lineman, go get either a great running back or a great receiver, changes things an awful lot.
Yeah, definitely. So we got a few more games to talk about here, but we want to quickly touch upon Tyson versus Paul tonight. I don't know how people aren't betting Jake Paul to win tonight. Grant is on Jake Paul. I will let him tell his bets. But when you look at Mike Tyson, 58 years old, right, Grant? 58?
Yep, 58.
He wasn't great at the end of his career. He hasn't fought since 2005 professionally. He's going against a stud in Jake Paul. What makes people think that Mike Tyson is going to knock out Jake Paul? Because that is the only way he beats him. If this fight goes over rounds, if it goes the distance, there's no chance Mike Tyson has to win.
Yeah, Mike Tyson can't win on points. It's just not going to happen at 58 years old. He's going to have to knock Jake out early on if he's going to win this fight. I don't think that's going to happen. Jake is normally somewhat of reserved of a fighter. And Tyson was known for his with the peekaboo fighting where he gets down low and he pops up on you. That doesn't work at 58 years old. You don't have that type of balance. You don't have that type of speed and explosiveness. The public is all over Tyson. He was 225 at the start of the week. He's down to 175. I think he's actually down to 160 now that, as I say that, it looks like it just updated. So people all over him. I'm with you. Jake Paul's in his 20s. He's probably on steroids. I don't understand how you look at a 58-year-old. And Tyson was using a walking cane earlier this year. We can't forget about this. He looks in incredible shape. He has an incredible legacy, but I'm not betting a 58-year-old to beat anybody who's competent.
No chance. And looking at the fight, the more I looked at it, I'm like, Jake Paul by points or decision. That's the best play, plus 300. But realistically, can Tyson go 8 rounds with him?
It's 2-minute rounds instead of 3, so I guess that's I'm pretty confident that Tyson's camp is the reason that it is what it is. Like they don't want him out there for 3 minutes because he'd gas out. So he's got a little bit better of a chance, but I don't know. He is still 58 at the end of the day. I saw a good tweet and it said, this is like current Michael Jordan versus Dylan Brooks in a 1v1. And I agree with that. That's what it is.
Current Michael Jordan. So you're saying Jake Paul is current Michael Jordan?
No. Mike Tyson is current Michael Jordan.
Oh, you mean current Michael Jordan right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, at this age.
I thought you meant like yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a good comparison. Putting it in basketball terms. I think this fight does go over 5.5 rounds. That would probably be my best bet of the night for this fight rather than picking a winner. And then I would say Jake Paul. I still like Jake Paul by points. I think Tyson's got too much pride to get knocked out. But if he gets caught, you never know.
Tyson, I would have to look at the weigh-in weights. I would also assume Tyson is heavier than Jake. I would guess Tyson's probably like 220, 230. Jake's probably about 200. I know those don't line up in traditional weight classes, so I wonder if they made a catch weight or something like that. I don't know. I want to go look at that after this ends.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight. It's entertaining. Like, I think that's the one good part about boxing in today's world when we're getting these internets. And don't get me wrong, Jake Paul is a legitimate fighter, but we're getting these internet fights. Like this is kind of like a dream fight. You got an internet dude that's worked his way up through the internet, legitimate fighter, going against a guy who's one of the greatest fighters of all time at 58 years old. Like, it's interesting. I wouldn't say we respect boxing though, like we do UFC. UFC is a much better product. Like, boxing has just become these like crazy fights, these internet fights, crazy fights, and the zone and all that stuff, because I think it's the only way that boxing can get attention in today's world with UFC taking off.
I believe this is supposed to be the highest earning boxing fight ever. I know the total purse here is 80 million and Floyd McGregor got 130 million. That's the highest purse. But because this is Netflix and just the advancement of media rights and marketing and everything, believe this is the highest, the most expensive fight ever.
I mean, they're filling Cowboy Stadium.
So that's what, 80, 85,000 seats?
Yeah. And probably for a boxing fight, you could get up to 100,000 in there for sure.
Oh yeah, because they'll put on the field too.
They'll put them on the field. Yeah. So it should be good. I also love how Netflix is taking this and you don't have to pay extra for it. I think that's awesome.
It's a game changer.
That's a game changer. Like, the fact that you pay for Netflix, you get it, huge, because it doesn't feel like a pay-per-view in that regard, what it is. And people are going to probably buy Netflix to get it, and then you get Netflix. So it's a good deal.
Yeah, it is. And if you're buying a Netflix subscription, it's a lot cheaper than paying this $50, $70, $80 for a fight you normally have to pay.
Yeah, like UFC, again, they can charge it, but you have to buy ESPN Plus, and then you have to have the fights on top of it. Or I think there was originally something where if you had ESPN Plus, you got the pay-per-views when they first came out. So we'll see. But who wins, Grant? What round?
Jake on points.
Jake on points. So you think it goes the distance?
I would love for an Iron Mike knockout. I would, but it's not going to happen.
That's kind of like what I'm feeling too. I would love to see. I would like, if I bet Jake Paul and he lost and Tyson knocked him out, I'd be like, all right, whatever. I donated to see something I probably wanted to see.
Yeah, I think the only curveball is a draw, and like maybe Jake wins it by a little bit, but because it's Tyson, it's a draw. And then it's this whole thing about the fixes in, whatever. That's the only situation I could see things going off script a little bit.
It's also Jake Paul's company, all right? MVP Promotions or whatever.
MVP, yeah.
That should tell you what you need to know right there, too. I mean,
Andy and Mike Tyson slapped him at the weigh-in.
Yeah, like you're adding fuel to the fire. And the great ones go out on their backs, too. Like this is like Ric Flair when he fought Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. And he did come back and wrestle a little more, but like Shawn Michaels beat him at WrestleMania. Like you had to know that was coming. You don't send the champs out on their back, like outstanding.
Well, Tyson went out on his shield back in 2005, 20 years ago.
I know. That's crazy. Like, this is just, I don't know how you're not betting Jake Paul to win this fight. It's crazy to me. Anyways, Grant, you want to talk some football?
Yeah, let's get back to it.
All right. So we have some big games coming up this weekend, starting with the Bears and the Packers. Not really a big game, I would say. It's just big because everyone wants to see Caleb Williams fail at this point. So people are tuning in. I think firing Shane Waldron probably doesn't help their chances that much. Like when you make, everyone's talked about this year, like when you make these changes mid-season, it never tends to go well, rarely, like changing out a play caller. And because you're putting a play caller in that probably hasn't called plays much.
Oh, yeah. I agree. And also that's from I don't know if the correct term would be coaching tree. Like how we say this coach is from the whoever coaching tree, but like it's someone that was on the staff already. So how much are they really going to change? You know what I mean?
Nothing.
Yeah, Caleb it is what it is at this point. I mean, he's had weapons all season long. He's had the same offensive line. I was looking at some numbers, by the way. The offensive line has not been bad. I mean, they haven't been amazing, but they're 14th in the NFL in pass blocking success rate. So like it's by definition above average. It's not number one, sure, but that with the weapons, Caleb should be able to do something. We talked about this on the last episode. Coaching matters. I would never say that it doesn't. And it can significantly change your floor and your ceiling. But with these weapons and the fact that his offensive line has been solid, we should be seeing some level of production from Caleb. And recently we haven't. You know, Green Bay's got a very good defense. The only thing I worry about here is Chicago's got a great defense too. And Jordan Love is literally handing out turnovers. He is giving people pick sixes like he's giving out high fives. So if one of those happens, it's a 5.5 point spread. I think Chicago easily covers. I think it's a low scoring game. And it basically, again, just gets decided. If Jordan Love throws a pick, then I think Chicago covers. If he doesn't, I think Green Bay covers.
Yeah, I trust Jordan Love a lot more than Caleb Williams. And also, too, I want to give a little love to the Bears here. There's a lot of people saying, like, why'd you draft Caleb? You know, like there are people turning on the Bears saying we should have never drafted Caleb. Like Jaden was the answer. Like nobody in their right mind thought Jaden Daniels was the answer. I don't think at 180 pounds. I don't think anyone thought Drake May was the answer over Caleb Williams. I'm not saying they should have taken Caleb Williams first because I think there were some clear red flags there. But the fact that people are saying like, why'd we draft Caleb now? It's kind of crazy. We're only 10 games into his career. He's still got some time. So
I saw something they call it. I forget what they called it. The Mahomes. I think it was the Mahomes Bears scenario or something like that. But they were talking about this, and they said, you know, people saying Caleb Williams isn't working. Caleb Williams is a bust. If the Bears drafted Jaden Daniels would be a bust. If the Bears drafted Drake May would be a bust. If the Bears drafted Patrick Mahomes would be a bust. He said this is, you know, they just keep cycling through quarterbacks. They had a generational prospect. Justin Fields was a generational prospect. Hasn't panned out to be a generational player in the NFL. But they've had these guys. They spent a first-round pick on Mitchell Trubisky, which was an overpay, but they still did it. They've had different people in there, and they just continue to fail because organizationally, they just don't put their players in positions to succeed.
No, not at all. And like you look at Patrick Mahomes, going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, him and Brady. But the thing is with Mahomes, he didn't play right away. He learned, and then he played. Like I think that's so valuable to not have to play in your first season, but that's not the world we live in today. People want it now, and Caleb Williams is not ready for it. So I would probably take the Bears. I'd lay the points with the Bears. I would watch this game just to see how Caleb Williams plays. Probably don't bet anything in it. That's my take.
I'm with you. I ran a simulation here. If you look at the odds that the sports books give you, you can kind of reverse engineer what they think the score is going to be. 5.5 point spread, over unders 40.5. They're telling you they think it's going to be Packers 23, Bears 18, basically. I got Packers 22, Bears 18. So I got the Bears right there, right around the odds the sports book set.
So we have the Ravens and the Steelers here on Sunday, 1 o'clock kickoff, CBS. Baltimore favored by 3 on the road against Pittsburgh. This is Lamar Jackson's MVP audition, I would say. If he has a good game here, he will be minus 150, minus 175 at least to win the award. Rivalry game on the road. I think this is a game, if you're looking at Baltimore here, I think they're clearly the better team. I think Pittsburgh's great. I think Pittsburgh's inability to score could be an issue in this one. I do think Russell Wilson and George Pickens have a good game, but I think overall Baltimore's going to overpower them. What do you think?
So I'm with you on that. And that would be a deviation from how things normally play out, because in Lamar Jackson's career against the Steelers, he's got 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in 6 games. So he has not been productive against them historically. And if there's a coach out there that you trust to come up with a game plan, a coach, a defense combination, I guess out of respect, you got to put Spags and the Chiefs right up there. But you would probably put Mike Tomlin and the Steelers at number 2. Or maybe even you put them at number 1. So I think it is going to be an interesting matchup. AFC North rivalry, getting into late fall, early winter. We know what that means. Probably going to be physical, probably going to be low scoring. But Lamar is just on top of his game right now. You know, he's the best running quarterback in the league. And statistically, he's the 2nd or 3rd best passing quarterback in the league right now. The Ravens lead the league in yards per pass attempt. They lead the league in yards per rush attempt. And we know Pittsburgh wants to run the ball to be able to set up the play action. Baltimore does a better job defending against the run than anybody. If it's throw for throw with Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson, I trust Lamar. So I think this is a close game, but I think Lamar makes the plays, and that ends up winning them the game.
And Lamar has become such a danger in the pocket. He doesn't have to run at all, which also makes him a lot harder to defend, because now you have Derrick Henry in the mix, who makes this offense so much better. And I do like Russell Wilson to have a big game here. I would take him over 225.5 passing yards, especially George Pickens receiving yards. I'd take him over. Mike Williams, I'd go over there, just because Baltimore can't shut down anything in the secondary, it seems, right now. But if the Ravens are able to put a little pressure on the Steelers offense and get them throwing the ball down the field, it could be a really big day for Russell Wilson statistically. So look at some props for him as well.
Do you remember when the Commies and the Jets and the Falcons could have had Lamar for 2 first-round picks? It wouldn't even have to have been agreed. It would have just been automatic. And They said, no, he's not worth it. Now he's about to win his 3rd MVP at 27 years old.
It's so hard, though. Like, looking at Lamar Jackson coming out of Louisville, like nobody would have guessed he is the quarterback he is today, right? Because that style of quarterback, Michael Vick, but like that has not translated well in the NFL. You know, Caleb Williams, I think you might have been able to say he could be a bust, and we don't know yet. But there's quarterbacks that you look at in college, I think, that you can say, hey, they have it, they're going to be successful. There's other quarterbacks that you say, I don't know. And there's some that you say they have no chance. Lamar was probably in that I don't know category.
Well, you always talk about it. The thing that makes him so special and why he's still able to run so effectively is because he might be the best in the history of the NFL at avoiding contact, but not like giving up on the plays. You know, some quarterbacks will run out of bounds, they'll slide early, whatever, to avoid the hits. Lamar will weasel his way through whatever it is, but he doesn't sacrifice the yards, yet he still avoids the hits. He still stays healthy. And even one of the biggest problems I have with what Jalen Hurts and the Eagles do is all the tush pushes. I understand it's working right now, and I'm not saying that it's never not going to work. What I'm saying is, by having your quarterback have thousands of pounds of bodies on top of him multiple times every Sunday, 3-4 years down the road, he's not going to be able to run. You're taking away his longevity just for these short-term games or short-term gains. And when you have like a back like Saquon Barkley in the backfield, you're gonna score anyway. So I don't understand the point of that. It's not smart thinking.
I think Jalen Hurts is going to be washed in a few years, honestly. Like, I don't think he's going to have a long career in general. Tush push aside, I think there's some flaws with him in his game. I don't know. That's just me.
I mean, he's on like an accelerated Cam Newton arc. You know, Cam was Cam didn't get in the MVP conversation as early as Jalen did, but you can also see Jalen's body is already starting to break down a little bit. Like, he's still mobile, but he was actually fast when he got. He's not fast
Yeah, he's not
anymore.
fast. No, he looks like a fullback running. And also, if you take out the tush push touchdowns, is Jalen Hurts in the MVP conversation as much as he's been in? Probably not.
No, probably not. And
Not as much.
I'm sick of Jalen Hurts' rushing touchdowns. He's going to set the record for quarterback rushing touchdowns this season. At least I think he would. He's the record. He tied for the record last year. Him and Josh Allen both had 15. I think he's got 10 right now, and none of them are impressive.
No.
8 or 9 of the 10 are tush pushes. Who cares?
I mean, Allen's rushing touchdowns are always legitimate rushing touchdowns.
Yes.
Throwing his body to the wind half the time. But yeah, looking at Lamar, I think Lamar is going to have he has already had a better career than Jalen Hurts, but that's the most impressive part of Lamar's game. He does not take hits. I don't think I've seen him take one hit in his career, watching him at least. And I've watched him a lot on Sundays, but where he gets up and he's just like battered and beaten down, and he's like, you can see pain in his face. I don't see that much with him.
And even last night's game, there were a few design runs with Jaden, and it's like he literally had to take a hit. There was no way around it. Yet somehow, if Lamar was there, I don't know how, I know he would not have taken them. It looks impossible to avoid, but I know that he would have gotten out of it.
Yeah, and Lamar, like Jaden Daniels, a good runner. Lamar Jackson's a great runner. Like he is, and he's been so successful in the NFL because the passing game has evolved so much. He was always a good runner. We always knew that. He's learned how to not take hits, but his passing game, he can sit there in the pocket, not run at all, and still beat you.
Jaden, I think, he's an elite open field runner. Lamar is like a legitimate running back. He can find the hole in the offensive line and burst through it. Jaden's like, man coverage, I escape. And now once I get going, now you can't touch me. But up until that point, he can make some guys miss, but he's not like Lamar. Lamar is legitimately a running back.
Yeah, definitely. Grant, you ready for the big game?
Is this we got a lot of very good games this weekend.
By far the biggest game on the slate is Chiefs Bills, because you're getting Patrick Mahomes as an underdog, and it's not a trap line, because like every time he's been underdog, he always wins. So I think the record's insane. Well, he's lost maybe 1 or 2 times. I think it was like 9-2, 10-2. I could be totally off with that. Straight up as a dog. I think against the spread, he's even better than that. Chiefs on the road against Buffalo. I think this is a game the Bills need to win. If the Bills do not win this game, I think the Chiefs go undefeated. Would you agree with that?
I think this is obviously the toughest game for them to win left on their schedule. I would still say no, they won't go undefeated just because it is so statistically improbable. But this is the best chance for a 10. This is probably going to be the only game left on their schedule where they'll be underdogs. Mahomes, what you were saying, Mahomes in his career, 12-1-1 against the spread as an underdog, 11-3 straight up. Like I just said, I don't think the Chiefs are going to go undefeated just because I shouldn't. Nobody should. Nobody should expect a team to go undefeated. I think the Bills are going to get them at some point. With that being said, like I can't bet against the guy. I mean, Mahomes just went. It's a blocked field goal. It's a pass interference. It's 50 yards in 13 seconds. It's a Hail Mary. They just win games. And with that record I just read, 12-1-1 against the spread as an underdog, like maybe take them on the spread instead of the money line just in case there's a 1-point difference between them. But I think the Chiefs are going to win. I don't know how. I really don't. And if the Chiefs do win, then we have a very interesting question or very interesting conversation about Buffalo, because Buffalo right now is 8-2. Let's say they lose, they're 8-3. They'll be 8-0 against teams they're clearly better than, and they'll be 0-3 against contenders. They lost to the Texans, they lost to the Ravens, and this will be a loss to the Chiefs. So where do you put Buffalo?
Buffalo's not a contender, I don't think. One bit.
A lot of people think they are, and they're like, I think they're 4th in Super Bowl odds.
They've had better teams though than this season. Like I think they were better last year than they were this year, personally.
I think it's possible. I think there's an argument. I'm with you. I don't think they have. Amari Cooper changed things a little bit because now you actually do have somewhat of a formidable passing attack. I'm with you. I don't think this is the best Bills team we've seen.
This is going to be it's going to be Ravens Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, most likely. I would say if there's an upset, maybe Houston pulls off an upset. If the Bengals get in, and I don't think they're going to get in, that would be the one team that I would say you don't want to play because they can just score at will. But the AFC right now, it's Ravens Chiefs on a collision course for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, odds to win the AFC: Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, Texans, Chargers, Steelers, and then you got the Bengals at 7.
I would love to see the Bills not win this week, great. But I would love to see the Bills get over the hump in the playoffs and go to the Super Bowl. Like nothing would make me happier than see Josh Allen win a Super Bowl. But it's just they seem kind of cursed. And you're playing against Patrick Mahomes and you're playing against Lamar Jackson, and you don't have the. I personally don't think the Bills have a team to beat the Chiefs currently constructed or the Ravens as they're currently constructed.
Like we were talking about the Commanders being maybe a piece or two away from actually becoming serious contenders. It'd be really interesting if we could get, not we obviously, but if somebody could get a truly elite wide receiver to the Chargers. Justin Herbert's playing incredible football. They're going to be able to run. They've got a great offensive line, and they've got the best defense in the NFL right now. So if you got Herbert like a legitimate weapon next year, that could be a team to watch.
And I like how Jim Harbaugh early in the season was not relying on Herbert to throw the ball, but lately they have just been throwing it all over the field with Herbert. Like they kind of realize what they have at quarterback. He's that guy, and we never talk about him either. Media wise, we never talk about Justin Herbert. So I think that could be a really good piece if they added a receiver there and continue to play how they're playing. I think they're going to be good for years to come. It's just hard to look at the Chargers being in the AFC West because you have Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but I mean Harbaugh, I'm pretty confident Harbaugh has the best winning percentage amongst all active coaches. And LA had one of the worst defenses in the league last year. Now they're number 1. So we know the Harbaugh model. It's control of the clock, great offensive line, great defense. They have all of that. And like you said, Herbert didn't have 200 yards passing the first 4 games of the season. And lately they just took the training wheels off and he's been balling.
Yeah, totally agree there. So looking at this game, Bills, Chiefs, you're taking the Chiefs. I would take the Chiefs in a teaser. I think there's a lot of good teaser games this weekend. I don't see the Chiefs losing by more than a touchdown. If they do lose, I personally would bet the Chiefs on the money line. I think the Bills win the game this week. I think this would be the week that the Chiefs lose.
I'm with you. The Bills, it's going to happen. They're going to lose, and the Bills are going to get them. This should be the week. But from the betting perspective, got to take the Chiefs at 2.5. Can't bet against Mahomes as an underdog.
That's where I'm at with it. Like, I think the Bills would win, and I would feel more confident in a teaser with the Chiefs. The teaser I'm looking at, you go 2-team, little teaser for the night slate, 4:00. You take the Chiefs, and then I think you take the Bengals plus up to 7.5 at night. I think that would be a really good teaser, or potentially take the Chargers if you can get it up to 7.5 if you're willing to do that. But I like Bengals and Chiefs taking them up.
I like that. I do like that. And if you wanted to, I mean, you could get the Jags at plus 20.5 as long as they don't lose by 21.
Risky. That's still risky though. Like I agree. That's just so. I mean, the Lions beat the Titans by like 50 points this year.
What was that 52-10, something like that?
And the Jaguars are significantly better than the Will Levis Titans, but that's still I don't want to mess with it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Anyways, Grant, that was Ride the Line. Take us out of here.
Guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. Tara and I appreciate all of you being here. Before you get on out of here, jump in the comments. Let us know who's going to win, the Bills or the Chiefs. Hit that subscribe button. We will catch you all on the next episode of Ride the Line.